Night has fallen and you're weary from travel. Stars fill the sky above, and in front of you is a brightly lit wooden house, the only building you've seen for days. You walk toward the house, hearing the sounds of laughter and talk as you reach the door and push it open. You sit down and join the game. It's a cheap buy-in, and not many of the other players are very good. The lady fiddling with dice gets good cards, but has no real strategy. The man to your right seems to just hold on to the highest cards he has, regardless of suit or any consideration of matches. The man in gray across from you, though, he's good. He already had the largest pile of coins when you bought in, and while your winnings grow quickly, you can't quite catch him. One by one, the other players leave the table, sometimes with pique or with wry humor, leaving their winnings with you or the man in gray. Finally, it's just you and the man in gray. He looks at you, full of humor, and winks. Last hand? He deals, you draw, and look at your hand. It's good. It's great. The best hand, in fact. A royal straight flush. Spades. Aces high. But the man in gray pushes forward his whole pile. You're not sure exactly how much it is, but it's more than you've got. You can't match that. The man in gray stops you. Now, if you like, I'll let you wager your word. I know you'll be good for it. Just promise you'll pay the debt, however I ask. Yep, 10, jack, queen, king, ace. All spades. The man in gray smiles. All right then, I'll call.
Well, your luck wasn't so good, was it? That's quite the hand, but not for the game we're playing. I'm afraid you owe me. Your life, sure, but more than that, your labor.
Hello everyone, welcome to Where the Water Tastes Like Wine. This game I've not heard anything about, and I've decided to test it out. This intro was quite intriguing, and I didn't want to say anything to ruin it, because I just opened the game for the first time and started immediately. So, hopefully this will be a good playthrough. I had a thought that in the future, when I get options, I'm going to actually read out what I say or do, to give it a more narration-esque feel.
You see, this land is built on stories. It's one big story, this country, woven of many small ones. Few of the small ones are strictly true, and the big story is mostly a lie. All the stories and songs and myths and legends start somewhere, with a seed. As they're told and retold and passed around, they grow and change to become the stories we know. To pay your debt to me, you'll be carrying stories, finding the seeds first and then spreading them, telling them onwards so they can begin gaining strength. This is no light task. Stories are heavy. Most of the stories you'll find will be small seeds. They might be true, but they'll grow wild and unbelievable with the telling. The more important stories are the true ones, the ones people will tell you about their own lives. Those often get lost in the weaves of the big story. The more true stories you can find and tell, the more you can weave that truth into the big story. Tarnish it a bit perhaps, but isn't a dingy and battered truth better than a shining lie? Now, go ahead. You tell me a story. I'll trade you some information about your task.
I am captivated. This seems honestly like such an interesting concept. I don't really know what I'm doing here, but I only have 3 of staves: travel, justice, choice, morality, the world, heaven, desires fulfilled, whispers come true, wheel of fortune, and the tower. I'm going to tell a story about justice. Tell the story of the endless series door. Tell the story of endless series of doors of different kinds, each leading only to more doors. Tell the story of northbound train blinking its giant eye as it crawls through the night. Tell the story of the part of a cloud of fog to reveal a brief glimpse of land of promise and plenty. Tell the story of tossing a pair of bone ties on blood-red velvet table. Come up snake eyes and wink at you. Tell the story of a black and grey city where every building is filled with corpses. This one seems like the most promising story.
Your deepest desires, your greatest wish, heaven? Big Rock Candy Mountain? El Dorado, the promised land, that place just over the ridge where they all say that the water tastes just like the sweetest wine. Well, I don't know where that is. It's supposed to be somewhere in this country. Ask the people you meet. They're all searching for the same thing.
Now I've told this story. Justice. Tell the story of endless series of doors of different kinds, each leading to only more doors.
You sometimes have to make choices about what kind of story you're finding. Is it a love story or a tragedy? Don't gather too many of one kind, though. This grand story needs variety.
Travel. The northbound train blinking its giant eye as it crawls through the night.
Travel? That's your job. Wander from place to place, gather those stories and spread them. People get bored hearing the same stories over and over, but an old cliché in one state might be a rip-roaring new yarn in another.
Wheel of Fortune. Story of tossing a pair of bone dice on a blood-rocky velvet table. They come up snake eyes and wing it here.
It's just luck. Funny how bad luck seems to follow the folks who already have problems aplenty. Well, try your luck out there in this country. See how the dice treat you. It's not all bad. You'll have to work hard, but I'll give you the gift for seeing the true shapes of people. Not many who can do that.
Last story, The Tower. The black and grey city where every building is filled with desiccated corpses.
I'll strip away your flesh to make the journey easier, but still you will feel pain. Hunger, weariness, thirst, and despair. They're all part of stories, the part not often told. And death, yes, but don't worry. As long as your task remains, you come back.
So this thing just made me an immortal storyteller wandering across the plains to weave the grand story of the country.
Go on your way, Seeker. Maybe we'll meet again, or maybe not. Either way, it'll be an experience for you. I'm jealous in some ways. I hope you find what you're looking for.
Oh my. This is me.
Well, I'm gonna scroll my name on the bare bones of the earth. I'm gonna dig my heels into the ground. 'Cause when that ferryman come for to tally up my
I love this music so much.
I won't leave much behind to drag me down.
This bungalow is being ransacked. There's furniture piled in the front yard, ammunition heaped under the mailbox, and a crowd of clean-cut men ripping apart a car in the driveway.
Strange.
The two heavily armed, mud-caked women leaning over the porch railing share the same bored grin. One shouts at you. "Lend a couple innocent gals a cigarette?"
Sure.
You are about to hand her a smoke when those men draw pistols and shove you hard into the dirt. "You know these girls?" they demand.
No, I do not.
Once they've dumped your bag out into the road, they decide you're harmless. "If you were selling booze too, you'd have a lot more cash," sneers one. On the porch behind him, the two bootleggers are fingering their empty rifles, grinning in disappointment.
I'll move on. Woman arrested for bootlegging. Northern America.
Well, I'm gonna cast my stones o'er the waters of this land.
Your goal is to fulfill your obligation to the wolf by finding all 16 characters scattered over the US. Trade stories with them until you earn their trust and finish their story. Stories. By having adventures, you'll begin to collect stories. When you meet characters, they'll ask you for different types of stories: tragic, hopeful, scary, thrilling, or funny. Remember what stories of adventure you had, and you'll know what type of story you got. Stories will grow and change as you tell them. Once you tell a story to a character, it would be out in the world, and you may encounter someone else who will tell you a better version of it. These better versions will be more entertaining when you tell them to characters. Be sure to tell different stories, so that you have a chance to grow them all. The stories you'll get from characters are wildcards. They will fit any of the 5 categories. However, telling them will not cause them to grow, so use them sparingly, as you're giving up a chance to spread other stories. If you want to swap around the stories you tell, you can do that in the inventory. Travel. There are several ways to travel across the US. The easiest is walking, but it's slow. You can speed up your walking pace by whistling. Hold down the buttons and match the notes. You keep your spirits speed up. Scrolls for more details. You can also hop a ride on a box cart. This will get you exactly to where you need to go, but runs the risk of getting injured by the railroad cops. Stop a ride, find a trading yard. A safety way to travel is hitchhiking. To hitchhike, hold the hitchhike button while standing next to a road with cars on it. Not every car will stop, and they won't always carry you the full distance, but you will be safe. Finally, if you got some cash, you can go to the city and ride the fast, safe passenger trains from place to place. It costs money, but it's the best way to travel. Characters. Each time you meet a character, you'll have a night to talk with them, exchange stories. You tell them the stories they want, you gain their trust, and move forward through their tale. However, there's no penalty for telling them a different story. You will still learn whatever they have to tell you. Characters have multiple chapters, and when you fully open the eye in the interface, next time you meet them, you'll move on to their next chapter. When you finish all the chapters, you won't see them again. Each time you finish a night with a character, they will move somewhere else. You can always check the map to see where they are, but they will also show you when they move. Inventory. The inventory holds the memories you've collected from the characters you meet. Once a character's trust you fully, they'll give you something to remember them by, which can be used to travel to where you first met. The inventory screen also has tabs so you can see your stories, a timeline of your adventures, a map of the US, progress with each character. Map. Inventory. My guys. Stories. I have 1 out of 237. Options. Controls. Hitchhike is Q, whistle is control, inventory, H and N. H is in-game help and it's map. Center camera. Yeah, I don't really know how this works.
The hotel is an old manor house that's seen better days. A grand structure surmounted by a gambrel roof that dwarfs the house itself. It's eerily still, but for 2 boys at play. Each one so small and light, they barely leave tracks in the deep snow.
I'm gonna watch the boys.
They seem old for their size, around 10 years old. Though their clothes are mismatched, they're perfectly identical, down to the pattern of freckles on their pale cheeks. They conduct their games in eerie silence. The clerk behind the counter is old, and your room key is worn. But night approaches, and the price is low. Just before you shut the room door, there they are, the twins, staring at you from the corridor.
I'm gonna get some.
In the morning, as you leave, the clerk asks, "Did you sleep well?"
Tell the truth. It will change the story.
Too tired to lie, you tell him about the noise outside your door. The trampling of small feet on the corridor outside. The dreams disturbed with violent and hideous images. "That's odd," he says, weak-eyed. "There are no children staying with us."
Oh. Silent twin. Burlington, Vermont, New York. "Wanna make some cash?" the woman asks. She's balancing a box of bread and lettuce on her head. You help her grill hot sandwiches in a tent on the edge of the country fair. Work is easy yourself. Pays you decent money too. Move on.
A few wanderers like you are looking for a place to camp.
We heard there's a Leatherman cave nearby.
They tell you. They describe a locally famous vagrant who hiked this area for almost 30 years.
He's dead now, but his caves are the best place to camp at any town.
Where is this cave?
You and the other wanderers find the cave easily, because someone's lit a fire there. As you approach, you see a silhouette bend over the flames with an odd creaking sound, like a door swinging in the wind.
Who's there?
His coat is crudely stitched from leather plates that squeak against each other.
The Leatherman.
One of the others whispers.
A ghost.
The Leatherman must have heard, but he just stares. His face is corpse still.
Of course, he isn't a ghost.
"He's eating," you say, and point out his can of beans.
Je ne suis pas un fantôme,
The Leatherman says, and adds,
idiot. Oh,
bursts your companion.
Canadien.
Soon, he and the Leatherman are deep in conversation, and your group has a safe place to rest.
Move on. Leatherman's Cave.
Off the road and into the woods, you can't help but come across this package by the old tree tied to a sturdy stick. The cloth wrapping conceals, though not particularly well, something large and softly unsettled. Little eyes blink back at you from inside the bundle.
Eva?
The shape gives a start.
Please don't tell my pa that I'm in here.
It says in a small voice.
Why not?
Pa doesn't want to live with us anymore, but I want to go with him. Don't tell him, please. I'm hiding.
I look for Stab.
His father must have been here at some point, but you sure can't see him now,
Please go. He's coming back any minute.
says the boy, growing agitated.
He's going to see you talking to me. Please, go!
He only calms down when you leave. You don't see another soul for miles.
That is a sad tale. Boy who ran away with his father. So I've traveled from Maine here into New York, then down here. Now I'm traveling towards Portland. London now, towards Road 95.
They don't come every year, you know. The old man is sitting at the edge of a rotting old pier, crooked legs dangling over the water. He watches a pair of seagulls preen and groom each other on a rock just off the shore.
Why don't they come every year?
Just when the fishing is going to be good. He taps great, black, thick globs of spent tobacco out of a huge ceramic pipe. I got another year, I guess.
Another year of what?
Another year of this town being here, he replies, letting a grin spread across his face. If the seagulls came, that means enough fish to keep it in place.
Ah, I see. And move on. Seagulls and the fisherman. A hopeful story. I'm just...
A woman walks the small town square with the poise of Betty Davis. A confident stride and inimitable mannerisms elevating the sidewalk into a plush Hollywood carpet. And wrapped around her neck, a yellow velvet ribbon, bright as an ocean sunrise.
Who is this woman?
You question a well-dressed man parked outside an oyster house. Prudish woman. I took her on a fine date and she didn't remove so much as a ribbon. Excuse me, can you step back from the coupe? That's the spirit. You decide to seek a second opinion. You talk with a waitress smoking outside a diner. Something funny about her. Just showed up one day. Doesn't work, doesn't live anywhere as far as I know. Just around. Myself, I'd love to know who made all her beautiful clothes. The longshoreman watches stevedores load up a crane. Yellow ribbon? That woman's dead. Ghost dead. Buddies of mine, they've seen her all over the Atlantic for decades now.
Oh. The elegant woman in the small town.
You can see storm clouds on the horizon, and you don't relish the thought of being caught wandering this rocky seaside road in the rain. Fortunately, you find the lighthouse door open with a daunting staircase before you. At the top of an ornate wrought iron spiral, you're breathless and feeling the strain on your knees. Rain already batters the walls outside. You can only knock on a heavy wooden door leading into the upper level. Muffled voices and light seep in beneath the door.
I'm gonna listen.
Looks like we got a visitor. Sounds like a man's voice, deep and rough.
Well, behave yourself. I'll open the door.
Another man, this one with a higher, more sonorous voice. I always behave myself. He feigns indignation, but his tone betrays affection instead. After a moment, the door unlatches from the inside and opens. The man before you is tall and muscular, with a hint of a paunch beneath his wide chest. The heavy iron knob on the door looks nearly dainty in his huge hand.
Didn't want to be out in this rain, did you? Come in.
What a nice
Despite
man.
the rough exterior, this room looks like a well-appointed parlor. There's a rug on the well-trod wooden floor and an enormously plush couch. And sat upon it is a stocky fellow grinning through a great hazel-colored beard. Tea? He offers, hoisting a teapot.
It must be lonely up here.
Oh, we manage.
The tall one sits on the sofa, casually wrapping an arm around the other lighthouse keeper.
The quiet suits us just fine.
He needs his quiet time. He's a writer. The tall one grunts.
I dabble. But you must have some good stories from the road.
I have a few.
You wake up the next morning on their old sofa, still warm from an excess of tea. And cakes? There might have been little cakes. Prodigious snoring rumbles in from the floor above you, and you quietly take your leave.
Move on the road. Lighthouse keeper. Didn't I just sleep? Yeah, that was odd. I can enter Boston if I want.
Well, I'm gonna scrawl my name on the bare bones
A
of
dusty truck and a man on horseback pull up next to one another in front of the grocer. Suddenly, the driver and the rider, two wiry old men with identical haircuts, start shrieking at one another.
What's going on here?
The man with the truck leaps into the street.
Brother!
He shouts. The one on the horse tumbles out of his saddle.
Brother!
He screams. They embrace in the road.
30 years!
Hollers the driver. The rider, tears streaming down over his face, corrects him.
No! 32!
Oh, wow.
Everyone here is watching these two older men cry and hug one another in the middle of Main Street. Cars and wagons are backing up. People are yelling.
Take a photo of us!
The driver begs you. Starts hauling a tripod out of the bed of his truck.
Let's get out of the road first, before we get run over.
As you usher them onto the sidewalk, the driver says,
Joe, I thought you were dead.
the rider freezes.
Joe?
He blurts.
I'm not Joe.
The two men stare at one another, each slowly recognizing something alien in their mistaken brother's face.
Oh no. How sad.
Of this land, and by and by
Two
I'll
men
see
who
them
mistook
for
each other for the brothers.
'Cause when
Man
the
from Boston.
night come down for to take me hand in hand,
Red brick, green trees, blue sky. In this weather, Boston is beautiful. That is until you make your way deeper into the city and get lost among the cramped, winding, shadow-haunted old streets. Buy a hot apple cider, man chowder, iced coffee root. If I earn some money. You wander the streets of the city looking for a way to make some cash. Panhandle, look for work. A tiny woman in a lush fur coat is standing outside a boutique lamp store with packaged nearly as tall. You there, she calls. Can you lift this? A try. It's huge and unwieldy, but light as anything. Carry it down to my house, and we'll work something out, the woman declares. You heft the package and follows her. She begins a rambling story about her living room and her interior decoration, her husband's taste in rugs. Fascinating, ma'am. You follow by the sound of her voice. The lamp box is so large you can't see a thing. Eventually she exclaims, "Here we are! Thank God!" You lay the box down in her living room, nowhere near as luxurious as it made it sound. Card table, a ratty couch, and a wall tapestry done in a grotesque imitation of medieval style. This will really tie the room together, she explains. James, this should get you. Move on. Let's explore.
This city is like no other you've been to. Crooked streets splay out in a maze of narrow passages, no two alike. Soon, you find yourself in twilight, utterly lost. Bright light crests around one corner, a car approaching.
Hail the town.
Compelled by the cold and foreboding night, you don't question it as you drag your bones into the cab. But you realize immediately how strange the vehicle is. It's a sleek thing, like a shallow parabola gliding over the street.
Look at the driver.
Where to? He asks. You have to stop and think. Eventually, you name Boston Common, the only landmark you know in this town. He peels off silently. You feel the car move before you hear the engine.
Look out the window.
He takes you through ever odder streets, flanked by painfully clean, gleaming buildings and signage for businesses you don't recognize. Even the air seems different. It doesn't smell so sharply of gasoline and coal. Eventually, you come to a stop.
Hey, the driver.
The fare's in glowing numbers above his dashboard. It's much too high, surely a mistake. No charge, he insists. You look like you need a break. And then you find yourself on the curb, at Boston Common, under thick moonlight, in a city much as you'd left it before.
Oh, strange. Move on. Odd. Leave Boston. Massachusetts.
As you walk along the river near an unfinished bridge, men with a tool belt catches sight of you. Hey, over there, he calls out. You look like you could use a quick way to get some hard-earned money. Hard-earned is right. The bridge hangs high over a perilous drop.
I'll always come back.
Great, he exclaims. Suppose you'll want a safety belt. We Thunderbird people don't need them. We fly when we fall. He chuckles.
I'm belt up.
You find yourself up high, looking over the rushing river that crashes around the foundation of the bridge. As you work side by side, the man mentions, "You can see Thunderbirds up here if you know how to look."
What do you mean?
You ask him to explain. Practice your peripheral vision, if you dare. Last thing you need up here is for them to see you seeing them and come swooping at you, he says laughingly.
Give it a try.
You only see the clouds thicken. It sure does pass the time working. The man pays you well when you're done with the job.
Move on. Bridge builder. Camp. Quinn. Chapter 1.
Hey there, stranger. You're welcome to enjoy this fire with me, if you're respectful, that is. This here is my spot, and I ain't inclined to share it with any bad characters. You can call me Quinn. These here are my venturing companions. Cass is the big un, and the one with the spots is Flip.
Cass and Flip.
I usually beat my way on the rails, but the road news said this town was fat, and the weather was fine. So I'm taking in the sights and seeing what I can drum up. You got any stories that are a little sad?
Oh, sad. For all the stories you have collected so far, they're organized by subject, because the boss likes favorite tarot cards. This is the subject of each story here. If you tell this person a story about love, for example, they will tell you something about their own life related to the subject of love, or things. As the night goes on, the icon will move left to right. When it reaches the right side, the night is over, and so is your storytelling. The person you're talking to will usually tell them where they'll be next so you can find them again. If you tell them the types of stories they request, you will gain trust and the eye opens. When it opens fully, the next time you'll meet, they'll open up more about their life. So remember this conversation to conversation. So don't feel you need to open the eye all the way the first time you meet someone. Dance around, get to know them. Little sad, you say? No? Boy ran away with his father. Boy who ran away with his father. A little sad, of
I
course.
don't usually like the sad ones, but that sure was beautiful. Thank you. Freedom. Well, teacher used to talk about freedom like America was eat up with it, but the tramping kind seems to be just about the only real freedom still in supply.
True.
Ain't no freedom from an empty stomach or bad weather, unless you're rich. I'm in the mood for something real funny like.
Something real funny, like you say. Have I told you the one of the Leatherman's Cave near Burlington, where they mistook a Canadian for a ghost?
I remember that one. I couple good jokes can get you out of a fix sometimes.
It's true.
Trust. Well, I figure tramps are apt to trust each other, to a point.
Fair.
Sure, there are backbiters out there, but it's the folks who act respectable, the so-called upstanding ones that I keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Hey, do you got any really thrilling stories to tell? I'm hankering for one of those.
A thrilling story. I wouldn't exactly say got any real thrillers out there. Maybe the story of the silent twins in Vermont. Imprisonment. Wouldn't exactly call it thrilling though. Story of the odd silent. No, that's not thrilling. Oh no. Silent twin.
I usually like the scary stuff, but your story needed more punch, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
Traps and such like. Well, one time in Fort Worth, a feller tried to take Cass and Flip away.
Oh.
Said a kid couldn't look out for him proper like. That they were fat in Fort Worth and they were going to the pound so that he could find him a good home. Well, before I could much argue, Flip bit the hell out of that busybody and Cass and I joined in shortly. I don't think I ever seen a fella so surprised.
Huh.
Guess I ain't going back to Fort Worth no more. Hey, tell me a funny story. You seem like you still got a sense of humor.
So, well, I am a skeleton, so let's see what we have. A funny story, you say? Huh. The past. Brothers who mistook each other.
That was a chuckle to be sure. Well, I don't know a whole lot about the past, but
That's
they
true.
say there's an Injun grave around these parts. Say it's haunted and full up with angry spirits.
Ah.
I used to love hearing stories of cowboys and Injuns fighting it up. Would swap tales with the youngins. But, well, I suppose if someone shot me, I'd be pretty vengeful too. You got any happy stories?
A happy story. Two lighthouse keepers near Portland, Maine. Pretty happy. Story of the seagulls and the fishermen That's hopeful. I tell the story of the two lighthouse keepers. Love. Besides, the eye is open, so I can choose.
Sometimes I need a tale like that just to remind me it's not all depressed out there.
Oh jeez, this kid is really heavy.
Love stories. Huh. Folks sure seem to be eat up with the notions of love, singing and talking about it all the damn time. Not sure I see the appeal myself.
You will. I believe
Oh, heck, the night's over already. I sure enjoyed talking to you, but I gotta get on. I think I'll see what's happening up the road this way.
I should head there. I'll travel across New York. I'll travel down here, follow the road. I'll travel all the way across New York.
The tramping life suits me just fine. Every day is a venture.
Every day is an adventure.
With things being so depressed, folks walk around like it's the end of everything good. But it ain't. Plenty nice things to see if you know where to look.
When story. Story coincidence. So many unseen stories here. I'll head down the 95. Find a story here. Make it down. I'm gonna start heading up to New York. Be Quinn again. See what we have. You walk down the road, a black crow flutters down, land in your path. It looks at you, cocks its head, and speaks. But you got a long, long road ahead, don't you? All these people to chase down? Or so I hear, it laughs. I got some experience when it comes to chasing folk. Tell me about it. Well, if you want, I could go find your friend again. Ask him more about their life. They might want better stories this time, though. Here's up at you. Didn't they tell you where they were headed next? Yeah. But hey, world's full of people. But you could find another friend like that if you went looking around. There's more than one interesting person in this land, for sure. It gives a ravenly laugh. That's what humans say anyway. With that, it launches into the air and disappears. Move on. Yes. I have learned how to do this.
Muddling through the dark, you stumble into the path of the white deer.
White deer?
Its beauty strikes you at once. It is something otherworldly, beyond borders. A moon swimming in the void. Human shouts not far away break the spell. The deer's ears prick up. This thing is being hunted.
I helped deer.
You know a way out of here. As the hunter's cries get louder, you approach the deer carefully, palms outstretched. As you grow close, your features become clearer in the light of the deer's aura. It bolts into the path of an oncoming train.
No. White deer. That's horrible. Truly, truly horrible. Hear a story. The waitress at the diner is sharing a story, an outlandish tale, with one of her regulars. I heard it from my sister-in-law, she says. It happened to her daughter's friend. It's true. Notice you listen. Hey, have you heard this one before? Which one? It regards you with a story about a Leatherman whose ghost haunts Connecticut. Halfway through, you realize it's the story of the Leatherman's cave, but highly embellished. What do you think about that? The waitress says. It's an interesting tale. Sure is, she agrees, and true every word of it. Move on. Story grew in telling. The Leatherman whose ghost haunts Connecticut. What can I learn in New York City? We'll earn some money. You wander the streets of... They're looking for a way to make some cash. Look for work. Such rain. The kind of torrential breeze, threatening rain. It only happens once, twice a year. Everyone scrambles for cover. One guy stays out in the street. A fellow with a bale of bent and lopsided umbrella. 10 cents each, he hollers. But an opportunist. The rain soaks him through. He's doing a roaring tale. Hey, don't you? Go around on the main shopping streets and pick up all the umbrellas you see, okay? People sometimes drop them, they blow inside out. I'll pay. I'm in. It made me cold. He's right. There are umbrellas scattered all up and down the streets like fallen birds. You gather up an armful of umbrellas. Umbrella sellers buys them all off you for a couple of coins. Next morning, though, your throat is hoarse and your nose is running like a faucet. Damn it! Move on.
The engines belch black smoke as the ferry churns gray water into froth. A broad-shouldered figure leans out over the rail, eyeing the skyscrapers on the horizon. Nearby, a man and a woman speak in low, urgent voices. He takes her wrist gently. She is weeping softly.
Listen to the couple.
I wish you didn't have to go.
She says.
There's got to be work on some of those buildings going up.
His thumb skates over her pulse point.
I checked every day for a week. There ain't. I'll be back, though. Got your picture in my wallet, don't I? It's not forever.
Keep listening.
Her words are split by a sob.
Might as well be. My parents didn't come to New York for this.
She leans against him, the wind tousling her hair. He pulls her to his chest.
I'm leaving because I gotta go. If there was another way...
They stand together, close, quiet, in the stiff breeze.
How sad. Two lovers who have to be separated. I'ma move on. Couple parted by unemployment. That's a shame. I was hurt by that. Huh. So I should turn off here. I'm gonna walk through New York, clear it of the unseen stories. I'm gonna find Quinn. Her story still needs to be told. Isn't this where I've been? Yes it is. Guess I'm heading this way. This whistling mechanic is interesting. It allows you to keep focused. Guess I don't have a story from here. There's a story I'm missing. Where?
Well, I'm gonna heft my spade up upon
Or is it?
my weary back. I'm gonna
This is the Leatherman's Tale. Haven't read this. Regardless, it's not there.
His clothes are expensive, but unkempt. A tailored jacket stretched and warped out of its best fit by long days on the road. His thinning frame weighs down the boxcar next to yours. You got a light, friend?
Sure do.
You offer a match, which bends and nearly snaps as he scratches it against the pitted iron edge of the boxcar. Thanks, he mumbles, perching one last cigarette on his lip.
So where you going?
Don't rightly know where I'm going. You notice how deeply wrinkled his clothes are. It's as though a huge hand plucked him from a high society party and crumpled him up like a sheet of paper. Don't rightly know how I got going either.
Wow, what happened?
They built a railway just past Missy Hudson's estate. Damned racket ruined our soiree. Might have been a few bottles of Armagnac too many when I walked down the tracks to tell them to keep it quiet. He drags on the cigarette, but you never see him exhale.
Oh. What a sad story. Last bottle of Armagnac.
Clouds roll together to fill the sky.
Watch as the sky churn.
The lightning is so strong that it seems to open a path in the haze above you. You are sure you see massive talons curved around the clouds.
Oh. Personally, I love looking up at the sky when it rains. Beautiful.
The thunder is so immense that the ground trembles. Your lips and hands tingle from the electric charge that fills the air until the dancing lightning passes on over the hills.
Move on. Massive thunderstorm. Story. Man leaning against the wall of a hardware store, smoking and chatting. They wave you over. You heard this one before? Launched into a group recitation of the boy whose shiftless father left him alone in the woods. Interrupting each other and exclaims out, wait a second. You recognize the story. The story about the boy who ran away with his father. Someone's added to it in the meantime though. What do you think? That's one of them an eyebrow. Do you think that was really happening? No way. That's not how it went. One of the men just shakes his head. It's possible to be too skeptical. Story grew in telling of the boy who ran away. I missed the story though.
My vagrant song.
I'm growing tired. Problem.
by nightfall, the hospitality of this sleepy hamlet, combined with their superstitious tales, has both overstuffed your stomach and filled you with a hollow dread. Folks say these woods are full of apparitions, witches, and worse. You curse yourself for getting on the road so late.
Walk
In the
out.
moonlight, every valley and hollow at the feet of the Tappan Zee seems like a stolen shred of the abyss itself. Fireside tales seem less fanciful, and every cackling crow and moaning whippoorwill seems like a demon perched on the shivering, spindly trees.
Listen.
But something cuts through the noise. The muffled sound of hooves galloping on the cold, muddy road. When he finally slows his horse alongside you, it's as though he had just appeared out of the mist. He's astride a gigantic black courser, and though his boots are muddy and ragged, he wears an immaculate coat with great, shining buttons. From his saddle hangs an antiquated flintlock and a cavalry saber. In the darkness, you can hardly see above his towering shoulders.
Read him.
His voice is a rumbling croak, deep, but as though his throat is filled with thorns. Have you happened upon a cannonball around here? You can tell English isn't his first language. German is. His hand, so pale it's almost blue in the moonlight, grips the reins in a fist.
I'm gonna run the hell away from this man.
Suddenly, you remember a story you heard, and you dash into the underbrush where the horse cannot follow, hearing a croaking sound that could be laughter. Over your shoulder, just for a moment, you see the headless rider hurrying on towards some forgotten battlefield.
Rider in the wood. Now that is a story. When chapter 2, I'll get that.
Stranger, it's good to see you again. You know, I'm gonna see this whole world one day, but for now, I just got my sights set on seeing all 48 of the great U.S. I already seen 10 whole states. That's better than my folks ever done, that's for sure. Plenty of townies and even some tramps treat me like I'm kid simple, but I ain't helpless, and I only act it when I ain't got no better choice, like if I get pinched. I do right fine on my own. Don't need nobody but Cass and Flip. Hey, tell me one of those exciting stories.
Exciting stories, you ask. Massive thunderstorm would be right.
Well, that was something. You spin a good yarn.
Thank you.
This country, I don't rightly know what this thing called America is. I know what I done been told in school, but the words don't fit the picture.
It's true.
What with tramping across the whole thing, figure I'll find out for myself soon enough. I want to hear one of them venturing tales. Got any?
Venture tale. Story of adventure. Told the story of the bridge builders around Boston.
Whoa, quite a story, stranger. Freedom? Well, that's what them trains have come to mean to me. Freedom. Crossing a country wider than imagination.
Yeah.
Hey, do you got any really thrilling stories to tell? I'm hankering for one of those.
Oh, I've got a thriller for you, alright. And... What? What about the Headless Horseman? Looks I can't tell you that one. Authority. Arrested.
Well, that was a lively tale.
Well, I was almost killed.
Authority. The coppers and rail yard dicks don't ruffle me none. I just tell them my poor ma and my poor pa died of the pneumonia. I give them crocodile tears about trying to get over to my gran just down the way. All I got's left is my dogs, mister. Works damn near every time. I want a story that scares me. Now I'm older, almost nobody can do it. Give me your best shot.
I can just tell you the story of the Headless Horseman. Tell you about a ghost, my friend.
Well, that sure was a downer. Give me a good venture tale instead any day. Travel, yeah. I want to see it all. The whole world. My brother used to read me stories of Jules Verne, of rich folks traveling around the world, and all for a lousy bet. It didn't sit right with me that folk with all the coin in their purse should also keep the world in their back pocket. I aim to grab a little piece for myself.
Huh.
I want to hear one of them venturing tales. Got any?
Well, you've heard most of my stories, honestly. Tell you when I rode the other side of the taxi cab. How's that?
Whoa, quite a story, stranger.
Thank you.
The future. I suppose I'll just keep heading west.
Keep heading west to stay.
California sounds mighty fine, and most everyone is heading that way anyhow. Well, sun's coming up, so I've got to get ready to go. Thanks for the tales, friend. Where you heading next? Decided yet? Maybe our paths will cross. I'm going up the road this way myself. Hope I'll see something fun. I generally do, you know. There's interesting things to see everywhere if you keep your eyes open.
So true. So friends, staying at Buffalo. Time for me to sign off for this time. Thank you all for watching the start of Where the Water Tastes Like Wine. Smaller, not very well known game. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. It's fascinating and intriguing to me. We will see each other in the next episode. Till then, take care, be safe.